I found this whole section in one of our libraries that has like paleo, keto, low carb recipe books. And I checked out 5 of them and I entered a lot of the recipes into my recipe keeper. And I really want to make some. Today I'm going to be making glazed cinnamon biscuits. So the first thing that I need to do is measure out 1 tablespoon of butter. And I actually am going to use my 1 tablespoon measuring spoon because I'm baking. And so like I can usually guesstimate what's going to be 1 tablespoon pretty well. But with baking, since baking is such a science, I don't really want to guesstimate. I want to make sure that I am getting what I need to have. So I've got a tablespoon of butter and I'm just going to get that melted in my microwave. It's really not going to take very long, especially because my butter is already soft. All right, so that just took about 15 seconds. Now I do want to allow this to kind of cool off, so I'm just going to set it here off to the side and then I'm going to work with the rest of my ingredients. I'm going to start with my almond flour. I need 3/4 of a cup of almond flour. Now what I'm making is going to make enough for 4. So that's how many biscuits we're going to get. My original recipe serves 8, but I don't need to serve 8. I only need to serve 4. So I went ahead and cut it in half. All right, so 3 1/4 cups equals 3/4 of a cup. Okay, and then I need the granular. So I'm going to use the powdered sweetener when it comes time to make the glaze. I'm using granular sweetener to make the biscuits. So I need 1/4 cup of my granular sweetener. So the kind that I'm using is actually the same brand and the same mix. So it's Aleos and monk fruit sweetener. I haven't tried it before. I haven't been super happy with Swerve, so just stevia. So I wanted to try something a little different this time. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this. So I need 1/4 cup. And then I need a teaspoon of baking powder. And 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, which I don't know if I have my 1/8 teaspoon measuring spoon. I might just have to measure out 1/16. Nope, I did find it here. All right, so 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, just regular table salt, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, which I've got my 1/2 teaspoon here. All right. So now I'm just going to whisk these together. And kind of really the best way to know if it's nicely blended is if you have like any piles anywhere, of course, then it's not nicely blended. And to kind of make sure that cinnamon, because it's kind of a darker color, right, is kind of blended throughout the whole thing. And so like that the color of all of it is just a little darker. Okay, so now I want to get together my wet ingredients. So I have a second bowl here. I need 1 large egg, which I forgot my egg. And then I need 2 tablespoons of sour cream. And I do actually have a 2 tablespoon measuring spoon, so I will use that. And this is not clean enough to level it off, so I'm gonna use a knife instead. Making sure that I don't have any holes, like any air pockets there in the bottom, because then I don't have my full 2 tablespoons. Okay, and then also my butter, which I just want to give a quick whisk of my egg before I add any more. Just pour my butter right in. And then just get these all kind of stirred together. All right, so that looks pretty good broken down. I don't want to have like big clumps of what's that called? Sour cream. That isn't what I want in my baking. Okay, I'm gonna get a better tool for the job here and get my wet ingredients into the same bowl as my dry ingredients. And then mix until well blended. I love using these rubber spoons because then they're, I can kind of scrape the sides as I am stirring. Okay, so then per the instructions, I'm supposed to let this sit for 5 minutes. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll do some cleanup and I'm going to preheat my oven to 400 degrees. So it's been 5 minutes and I'm really just unsure about this. This really does not seem like a biscuit dough. Like it doesn't seem like it's thick enough. I think if I put it on my parchment paper lined baking sheet like I'm supposed to do, I think it's just gonna all spread out and almost be like a pancake or something. It doesn't seem right to me. So I am going to add a little more of my almond flour. I don't know if maybe I made a mistake when I was measuring it out and, I didn't quite get enough. I'm only going to add 1 tablespoon, so I'm not going to add a whole bunch more. This is a half tablespoon measuring spoon, so that's why I'm putting 2 in. Just to kind of like see if that will help because it really just feels like it's going to be too runny and not firm enough to kind of like make a biscuit. This does seem better now. All right, so I'm going to use it this way, and maybe I messed the whole thing up. I'm not sure, but it just really did not look right the way that it was. Okay, so I'm going to use, you're supposed to use a 2-ounce cookie scoop to make your biscuits. I don't have a 2-ounce cookie scoop, but I got a 1-ounce cookie scoop. So I'm just going to use this like twice in one spot to make my biscuits. I should get 4 of them. But I don't think I'm going to get 4 of them. I'm getting 3 of them. So I don't know. I don't know what I did wrong. I'm supposed to be able to get 4 of them. Maybe it's not right. Maybe this isn't a 1 ounce, even though that's what I bought. I'm really just not sure. But I'll just go with 3 and we'll go from there. So once my oven gets up to 400, then I will get these put in. And they will need to bake for 12 to 14 minutes. And then they will need to cool for 10 minutes before I put the icing on top. So I'm going to wait to make my icing until until they're completely baked through. And then in that 10-minute wait time, I'll make my icing because the icing's going to want to kind of fall apart, or not fall apart, but firm up too much if I make it too early. Okay, so I definitely did something wrong. They are big and kind of flat. And this one actually is a little burnt. I think this other one might be too a little burnt. We'll have to see. I don't know that it's going to be so burnt that like, oh, we can't try them, but they are definitely on the like overcooked side. So I'm still going to try them. I'm going to try them with the glaze. So I'm just going to allow these to rest for 10 minutes. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and make that glaze, which is very simple and very similar to many glazes that you've probably seen. It's a pretty simple one. So according to the recipe, I'm supposed to use 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, but I don't have any heavy cream, so I'm not going to use that. Instead, I'm just going to use my regular Fairlife milk, um, but I don't think I'm going to use 2 tablespoons because I think it's just going to thin it out too much. Um, but we'll see. Like I'll start with one and then go from there. I do need 2 tablespoons of confectioner sweetener, so powdered sugar essentially. But I'm using the um, Alios monk fruit blend. So I've got that, and then I need a teaspoon of pure vanilla. So vanilla extract, you can get pure vanilla, or you can get the imitation vanilla extract. Imitation vanilla extract is great for things that like you're baking. So if I needed some in my biscuits, then I would have used my imitation vanilla. But for things that you're going to be kind of eating raw, right? So like this glaze that we're going to have, I'm not going to bake it, then you want to use the pure vanilla extract. Okay, and then I'm actually just going to start with a half tablespoon. I'm not exactly sure how um, this sweetener is going to respond. I know with like traditional powdered sugar, this is like way too much milk. So I just need to kind of see what happens here. Yeah, I don't think I want to add any more milk than that. This will kind of firm up a little bit as I am, continuing to wait for my biscuits to cool off. And so that'll be good because I think it's actually a little too thin and I wish I hadn't added as much milk as I did. And then I need a little bit of salt, just a dash of salt. So I'm actually just going to use my shaker and get that in there and get that stirred around. And if I need to, if I find that this is just like way too thin, then I will, basically like just add some more of the powdered sweetener. I did end up adding another tablespoon of the powdered sweetener to it just because it wasn't really thick enough. So then I have placed it over my quote unquote biscuit. And now I'm going to give it a try. That's really good. I'm shocked. It is really, really good. A little overcooked. Um, but I actually like my like cinnamon rolls. I like them to be almost burnt anyway. So that's okay for me. I am amazed at the texture and the flavor of this. Um, it doesn't, I mean, it's amazing. This is really, 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 really good. Um, I don't know that it definitely has like a biscuit kind of texture to it, but it's not a cake texture to it either. It is more, it's kind of like almost like a mix of the two, of a cake and a biscuit. It's really good. I decided to try the biscuits again. So when I first made them, I made them using Blue Diamond finely sifted almond flour, which the recipe calls for finely sifted. Um, but the texture just was not right. The flavor was great. I really enjoyed them, and it probably like the texture probably doesn't really matter. Like if I just want something sweet to eat, they're great the way that they were, but I kind of want to figure out how to make it into a biscuit, especially because this recipe is a sweet recipe, but you can like remove the sweet aspects of it and like add in savory aspects like onion powder, garlic powder, cheddar cheese, things like that, and like make other kinds of biscuits. So I want to know if I can actually make this into like a biscuit. So I got some super fine almond flour from Bob's Red Mill. When I look at the two packages next to each other, I don't actually see much of a difference. But I'm going to try it. I'm going to try the superfine and just see if that makes a difference in the recipe. I already feel like this is better. So I don't know if I made a mistake in my last recipe, but this is definitely much thicker of a batter. The other batter was quite a bit thinner. Okay, I am ready to get these in the oven. And this dough really is looking a lot better than the other dough. So I need to use a 2-ounce scoop, but I don't have a 2-ounce scoop. I have a 1-ounce scoop. So I'm just going to use it twice for each biscuit. And maybe this time I'll actually get 4 biscuits because I did not last time. It's going to be close though, I think. And I could just put this on, like kind of scrape it out of the bowl and get it on my sheet, but I do want to see if it really is as much as I need. And it's not. I'm probably, I would say, half an ounce short, maybe, on this last biscuit. I'm going to try and get like, there's a little bit in here. But then I gotta scrape it some more. Okay. All right, I'm gonna get these in my oven. The biscuits are out of the oven. They look very similar to the way that they looked the last time that I made them. We'll see how the texture turns out. I did cook them less time than last time, so they're not burnt this time, so that's fantastic. All right, so I'm just going to allow those to cool, and I'm going to go ahead and make up my glaze to go on top. I have my quote unquote biscuit. I think it's going to be very similar to what I made last time. And I'll just get my bit of glaze over the top. Like it feels more like a pancake to me. Okay, and then I'll give it a try. It's still good, just like last time. The flavor is fantastic. It really reminds me of a cinnamon roll, but it is definitely not a biscuit. I would say that this time it is a bit drier than last time, which I don't know that that's necessarily good, right? I mean, if you have a biscuit, biscuits are drier, but this isn't really a biscuit. And so I'm not sure that I like that. I think when I make it again, I will just go ahead and use the not super fine sifted almond flour because the flavor is great. But I think that, yeah, I think I like the texture of that first one just a little bit better. And so it's more of like a dessert pancake, I think.